All right, everyone, welcome back. Today we're very luckily joined by our guy, the two-time PFL featherweight champion, the man making his return to Moscow, Russia, August 11th at ACA 161. Our guy, the party, Lance Palmer. Lance, good to catch up, man. How have things been since we last spoke?
It's been good, man. Life's been good. Just building a family and training and letting everything play its course, and it led us to ACA. So everything's been really good in and out of the cage, and really excited to take a new direction.
Definitely, man. Well, look, I did watch that interview with you and Ariel Helwani, 8 or so months ago, where you announced that you were, leaving the PFL. And looking back on that decision since those months have gone by, how happy are you with the decision that you ultimately made? And was it a good move for your career, you think?
Yeah, I think I've always gone my own direction. I've gone, I guess, against the grain since my early days of MMA. When I was the RFA champ, and I chose to go the World Series of Fighting route instead of waiting for a call from the USC, and then World Series turning into PFL and kind of staying there to see how it would play out. And obviously it played out for me great in 18 and 19 before COVID and all the world got crazy. But I think as far as everything goes, decision wise, I feel like I always do what's the best decision for my career and for my family. And obviously being able to provide is why we fight. I fight because I love the competition in it, but also to be able to provide for my family and live a good life. So all those things go into decision making when it comes to where you want to fight for. And you always want to fight for people who want you to be there. So if you're not on the same page with the promoter or the organization, it's not a good fit anymore, then that's what you have to do. You have to make that decision you have to want to be able to fight and entertain for that promoter or organization, or it's not a good place to be. So, I'm very happy. I've been in a good place mentally and physically, and, with the freedom to be able to choose where I want to go next and kind of, make the decision for myself and not have anybody else dictating it for me.
Definitely, brother. Well, look, I know we will touch on that ACA fight coming up shortly, but I just want to ask you, I know you were very vocal about wanting to test your skills in the UFC before it was all said and done, really getting the crack, the chance to get that opportunity. Is that still something that you're looking for possibly after this next fight or down the line?
Yeah, I would definitely love that opportunity. It's not really, I guess at this point it was more of like, stay ready and be ready in case the call comes. But at this point in my career, it's kind of hard to do that. I like to be able to schedule my fights and have a full training camp and put the best version of myself out there. So kind of taking a fight when it comes to me for the UFC wasn't really an option in my opinion. So I just, I wanted to sign somewhere, and the ACA it's an awesome organization, and also it's a Grand Prix, so it's something I'm very familiar with. And this first fight is a quarterfinal fight, so
Wow.
8-man tournament, and I'm excited for that first fight. And obviously I'm looking to go out and get the win, but I want it to be entertaining. I want to have a great fight and move on in the bracket. So it's cool. I've done tournaments my whole life with wrestling and with PFL, so why not test my skills in a new organization with with new people and new opponents who are tough. And I've always fought people who aren't very well known to the masses, who are tough or have a good record. And so I felt that it didn't really bother me too much to fight some more, tough guys in a different league. So, I had a lot of tough opponents in PFL who nobody really knew who they were. So I'm used to doing that. So it's just another name and another league to try and take over.
Definitely, brother. Well, look, I know the fight is August 11th. Bibert Tumanov, I believe his name is, if I can pronounce that correctly. How did this sort of deal all come about with ACA? Obviously, there were probably many promotions that you had maybe had the opportunity. Why ACA? And it is interesting because it's in Russia. I don't know if you've been to Russia before, but are you looking forward to that experience as well, heading to a new country?
Definitely. I wrestled in Russia for Athletes in
Okay.
Action when I was probably 14 years old or so.
Yeah.
So it's I love the competition, and I love going to a new place, and it's kind of going overseas and fighting away from home. It brings a new type of excitement to me and stuff like that. So it was something that my manager Ali and Rizvan, they both, it was something that was both brought to their attention, and things just started, working out for the contract. And it was exciting to me because it's a Grand Prix. So it's not just fight and wait for the next one. You kind of fight, and you're going to fight the winner of whoever's on your side of the bracket for the next fight. So,
Yeah.
it was pretty simple. It was something that didn't happen super fast, but as, once I was a free agent, I was kind of happy being a free agent, just being able to train and not have the wonder of, what the next thing was. It was just train and get better. And obviously, living in Columbus, Ohio, it's, I train with Matt Brown a good amount and Dante Leon for jiu-jitsu. And we have a good crew of guys here at home base. But as far as camp goes, I'm still going to be doing my camps out in Vegas leading up to these fights.
Definitely. Well, look, Tumenov is 12-2. A lot of these Russian fighters are, very well rounded and very good fighters. What are your thoughts on this fight, and sort of how do you see it playing out if you've had the opportunity to watch a bit of his fight so far?
I know that he's more of a striker base, and when it comes down to that area of it, I've fought a lot of guys who are strikers, and between boxers and Muay Thai guys and kickboxers and people who are very well rounded. So I feel like I've fought in my career. I've had 29 fights, so I don't feel like it's anybody that I haven't fought before. And last or 2 years ago, I fought Movlid, and I felt like it wasn't the best version of myself. And I had some good moments in that fight. And I feel like, as it comes down to it, if you go, fighting a Russian grappler who Movlid was, going into a striking version of that, I've trained with a lot of Russian guys in New Jersey with Frankie Edgar's camp, and also in Las Vegas. So I feel like I can get good looks for that. And I usually do a good job and my coaches as well, we do a good job of getting the right partners for the opponent. So we have, plenty of people to train with that can kind of mimic that style of fighter.
Definitely. Look, Lance, we've seen, I think, over the last year or so, we've seen a lot of these fighters that are now testing their skill sets in individual formats, and I think a big one has become bare knuckle. Guys like Chad Mendes and Eddie Alvarez, and Mike Perry's doing incredibly well, and they've been getting these nice paydays. Is there any interest on your end for you to ever compete inside that, or are you still solely looking forward to mixed martial arts competitions?
I'm honestly, as long as I feel good and I'm still excited to compete, I'm down for anything. Like I did the Jiu-Jitsu Worlds in 2021 and ended up winning the brown belt masters division, and ended up getting my black belt off of that. And it's just the competition for me. It's like, I didn't get paid to do that. It cost me money to do that.
Yeah.
So like, I enjoy competition and I enjoy testing myself. And when the day comes that I don't want to test myself, then I'll hang it up. But, I had an offer to do a boxing match a few months ago, and then things just didn't transpire. But I'm always down to do whatever. It gives me an opportunity for these single skill sports to kind of dive into it wholeheartedly. And with boxing, that's something that if I could just box for 12 weeks or 14 weeks and prepare for one fight, I feel like there's so much work I could do and improvement I can make, and it can transfer over into MMA as well. So I'm never against anything like that. I mean, bare knuckle is definitely a crazy sport, and I think it's awesome, and I love what they're doing. They actually have a fight tonight that has some good fights on the card, but Chad did really well in there and ended his career in bare knuckle, and I think I've trained with Eddie Alvarez a bunch too, and he loves it. So I mean, I think that's something that maybe could be an option in the future. But obviously, right now I'm just focused on ACA and the Grand Prix. And my main objective is to win the entire Grand Prix and win that featherweight title. And and then after I win the title there, we'll see what's next. But the challenge of this is the most important to me right now.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Well, look, as one thing I will say about your career is you've taken an unorthodox approach. Like you said, you went to the World Series of Fighting, and in doing so, you were actually a guy that didn't go to the UFC, but you've made a good living and been able to make a very good living. Being a 2-time tournament winner. I mean, that's something that not many UFC fighters ever get the chance to, be able to see a payday like that. So for you, when you left the PFL, did it give you more, sense of, less pressure on being able to choose where you wanted to go next, because it wasn't necessarily a thing to just try and get a payday? You've been very successful in your career. How was that? Was it a bit easier making that decision, going, okay, I don't have to choose somewhere just because they're offering me the most money. I can choose where I want to go.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously for me, I feel like I have, at this point, with what I've done in my career outside of the UFC, I feel like I can kind of have a little more say in how much I want to make, or I don't have to fight if I'm not going to get offers that I think are fair.
Yeah,
So that's kind of where a lot of the negotiations were started and ended. Was I don't have to do this to make a living. So why would I want to take a certain amount of pay cut just to go fight? Even though I like the competition, I still want to make what I feel I'm worth for
definitely.
each fight. So I think it's kind of a give and take a little bit, because now at the point I'm at in my career, I I still feel that I can do great things, and I still feel that I'm at the top of my game when I fight at my best. But I also don't just want to fight just to fight, because I've already made it to such a high level of fighting and prize fighting, really, where I'm making good money doing it. Not even if you take away the championship money from PFL, I still made good money per fight with PFL. So I didn't want to really short sell myself just to go somewhere else to fight. And that's
Definitely.
kind of why free agency just played out, because I wasn't in a rush to go somewhere else. I wasn't in a rush to, make a check or make a payday. It was more of, I want to be able to enjoy this and enjoy where I go. And, yeah, obviously everybody asks me, why aren't you in the UFC? Why don't you do this? There's a lot of decisions that have to get made for that to happen. Like,
Definitely.
obviously I would love to fight in the UFC, and that would be something that would be awesome to do before the end of my career, but they have to want me, and the matchups have to be right, and I have to be able to make somewhere in the ballpark of what I'm making, or it just doesn't seem right to me,
Yeah.
because I'm not somebody who really fights for fame or for people to know who I am. And like, I like going to Whole Foods in town, and people know me for my
Yeah.
wrestling at
Yeah.
Ohio State more than my fighting. So,
Yeah.
that's never really something I've been big on, even since I started fighting, was the fame and the power of being a fighter. It was more to make a living off of it. And when you're putting your body on the line every day in training, and you don't get paid to do that, you only get paid when you step in the cage. So I take a lot of that into account, because there's a long life hopefully after fighting for me. So
Definitely.
I really take that serious, and I have 2 kids now, so that's even more important to me, to have the quality of life after I'm done fighting as well. So
Definitely. Like, it's very evident, man, about that, not wanting that fame side, because you've always been very humble and very kind to us, especially with your time. So it is very evident. But something I want to quickly touch on is like you mentioned, you still got a lot left in the tank, and you have these things post fighting that you want to do and everything like that. But from now until the end of your career, and it's all said and done, what are some major goals that you'd really like to tick off, if there are any?
honestly, I would love to fight for a UFC title. That's been my goal since I started fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that I know at some point, like, if the opportunity does come, that I may have to sacrifice some things on my end to make it happen. But I had a computer out of college when I first started fighting, and the background of that computer is still a UFC belt.
Wow.
It's the old belt now,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
a UFC belt
Yeah.
across the background of the screen. And like, that's why I got into fighting, was to be a champion. And like I said before, it wasn't for fame or, people to know who I am. It was more because I wanted to be a champion. I've always, in wrestling, I wrestled to win. In fighting, I fight to win. Obviously it's an entertainment type of sport, and you have to be entertaining. And, if it's, if that takes me to a point where I don't get in the UFC eventually because of that, then it is what it is. But that's one of my main goals that I would like to. I mean, shoot, if I could win a championship in every place that I fight, like I've done so far, it would be
Yeah,
awesome. So
definitely.
I guess we'll just keep taking off titles until I get the call from the UFC to do
De-
so.
Definitely, brother. Definitely. Well, look, man, last one from me. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you probably got things you're doing this afternoon or this evening over there. But look, man, I know you said like you still get recognized as the Ohio State wrestler. Is wrestling still, something that you're sort of watching closely and keeping an eye on? And if you are there any up and comers that you have your eye on that you think the world should know about?
Yeah, I definitely do. Bryce Meredith is one that stands out to me as a up and comer. He trains in Arizona now, but we spent some time together at Rutgers University in New Jersey when he was still competing in wrestling, and he has great wrestling. Obviously, he wrestled at a very high level. He did well in the NCAA level for college, and I feel like he's found his place with a good team at the MMA lab, and they're doing a good job of building him up, and his management team has done great with that. And obviously, he's had finishes in his fights. He's done all the right things, and I feel like he's learning and growing each fight. And although I don't really talk to him personally all the time very often, I know that he's a guy that puts in the work, and he's got the personality too that, he's a real dude. He's not somebody who's just putting on a front. And I like people like that, because that's how I look at myself, as somebody who's, I tell it like it is, and I give you my 100% personality. I don't really try to play games or act fake or anything for a camera. So I feel like he's somebody who could do really well if he chooses to go to the UFC from LFA, but he's doing well already right now. And I think he'll make some waves.
Definitely. Well, look, brother, thank you so much for your time, man. Look, Alex had a few things he had to take care of today, but he always appreciates talking to you, man. You're one of the nicest guys we've spoke to, and you're always very gracious and humble, and it's very awesome to be able to get to pick your brain and chat to you, man. So all the best from us, man, in preparation to August 11th. I'm sure we'll chat again. We'd love to chat to you either before that or maybe after you get that win on August 11th, man. And all the best. Can't wait to see you get there and climb the way up and get that featherweight title again, man. It's always a pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you guys for having me on. It's always good to talk to you, and I'll talk to you guys after I get this win for sure.
Definitely, brother. Sounds good. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, bro.